Hello, this is Ever with Liberty for the Brave, and my partner on this channel is Robert. We talk about investments and military benefits in order to advance your career and your financial journey. Okay, that was a little weird, I'm sorry. This is another video about the TSP, and I'm somewhat excited to talk about it, and I say somewhat because it's a fucking boring topic, but it is an investment and a benefit, so I have to talk to you about it. So in my first TSP video, I talked about the basics behind it and what you should at least be doing in order to take advantage of this benefit. In my second video about the TSP, I'll talk about the different funds and how some funds perform compared to other ones. But what I didn't do well enough in that video, in which I'll explain today, is the time versus reward concept when it comes to investing. So I'll explain two misconceptions that I believe that people have with the TSP and go through a number breakdown in order to give you a better context of what I mean by time versus reward, and maybe help you redefine what retirement means to you. So sit back, relax, because I'm gonna do this whole video in ASMR. Just kidding. The first misconception that people have with the TSP is that they undervalue the TSP. Undervalue. So according to the Federal Reserve data, people between 55 to 64 years old, their median net worth is only $187,300. And I'm looking at median net worth because that doesn't only include your TSP or any other type of retirement. That includes anything that you own minus anything that you owe. So if you own a home that is worth $300,000, but you only owe $150,000 for that mortgage, then your net worth would be $150,000 for that home. So for the median net worth of people between 55 to 64 years old is only $187,300. And people who are 65 to 74 years old, their median net worth is only $224,100. Do you think that's a lot of money? So a good rule of thumb is having at least 60% of your income towards your retirement. If you're living off of $60,000 a year, 60% of that is $36,000. If you want to retire at 60 years old, and let's say you live to 90 years old, 90 minus 60, that's 30. Boom, fucking math. $36,000 times those 30 years is going to be $1,080,000. So let's be a little bit conservative and say that you can live off of $2,000 a month. That's $24,000 a year. $24,000 a year in your retirement would be roughly $720,000. So you can clearly see that having $224,000 or $187,000 as your net worth, or even in your retirement, is not a lot of money. So I'm gonna go through a number breakdown because I know how some of y'all motherfuckers love numbers but hate doing math. So I'm using this investor.gov calculator. You can use the TSP calculator too, but I found that the numbers work about the same way, but I feel like I have more control with the numbers in this one. So let's say you're 19 years old and you just got into the military. Your initial investment for the TSP would be $0, right? Your monthly contribution, I go into detail about this in the first video, but we're gonna say 10% of your income, which is really only 5% because the DoD matches 5%. So you're really doubling your initial investment with this. So I'm going to say 10% of $20,000 because that's right about the range of E1 to E3, those ranges that you typically start out in the military. So 10% of $20,000 is going to be about $167 a month. So let's say that you only invested for the first 6 years of your military and you got out and you just kept your money in the TSP and you didn't do anything else with it. You didn't put any more money in. You didn't roll it over to any other account. You just left it in after 6 years. Your estimated interest rate, I also go into detail about this in the second video. I'm going to say 10% because assuming you're putting it into those stock-based funds, especially the C fund, you're going to have a high return. I believe it's around 10 or 11% for a 10-year average. And I say 10-year average because that's going to give you a better overall performance of these funds. They do fluctuate. They're a little bit more volatile. in the short term, but over the long term, they're going to perform a lot better than going into the GNF fund. That's why we say put it towards the stock-based funds, and you'll see why in a minute. I'm going to say interest rate variance range is going to be 2% to compensate for any miscalculations, or to be a little bit conservative with this. So we're going to compound this annually and then calculate. So those first 6 years, since you only put in 5%, right? 5% of $20,000 is $1,000. For those 6 years, you only put in $6,000. But remember, you're getting that 5% match with the DoD, so you're basically putting in half to have double the result. So with $6,000, you grew that amount to $15,000 in 6 years. It doesn't look like a lot, but let's look at how much that would grow if you didn't put any more money towards it. $15,462. So let's say you're going to pull this money when you are 60. So 60 minus 25 is 35. Basic math again. So 35 years. We're going to keep this the same. So let's calculate what this would be. $434,519. So you can see, even doing the minimum amount for those 4 to 6 years, you're definitely going to have a decent return by the time of retirement. So even at the most conservative, you're having $228,000. That's still way above the median average compared to people who are between 50s and their 60s. And that was all off of $6,000. You know, with these numbers, they're going to have a little bit of variance with it. That's why I had that 2% divergence. But you can even say with the most conservative, doing those minimum things that we said in our other videos, putting in at least 10% towards your TSP, putting it towards these stock-based funds, and starting early, you're going to be able to have a healthy retirement compared to the average American. So let's see how much that can grow if you were to continue putting money towards your TSP. So let's say that you got a government job after the military, you could still use the TSP, or you can roll your TSP into another IRA account. We'll have a future video about that, but let's see what happens if you continue contributing to the TSP. So you're 19 years old, your initial investment is $0. You're putting in that 10%, that's $167 a month. Length of time in years is 60 minus 19, that's 41. Boom, fucking math again, dude. Holy shit. All right, so we're keeping this the same. Let's calculate this. $977,655. To me, that seems a little bit inflated with the numbers. But even the worst case scenario, there's a variance of $562,685. That's a significant amount with only putting the minimum amount of effort towards your TSP. But let's take a look at if you were to choose to wait 10 years. So now you're in your 30s, almost your 30s, and see how much you would have to make up in retirement just to have that same amount. So let's say your initial investment is $0. Your monthly contribution, let's say about $400. You're starting 10 years later, so you're 29. That's going to be 31 till you retire. Let's keep this the same. So that seems about right? 873,000, 592,000 at the lowest. So you can see that roughly putting in $350 more a month to make up those 10 years that you lost, that doesn't seem like a lot of money for some people. But we have to take into consideration is that when you're in your 30s, you're going to have a lot more responsibilities. You're going to have a family, maybe a house, a different car. So even looking at these numbers, I was being a little bit conservative with it. But if I wanted to even be more conservative, I can go down maybe $100,000 from that. But even seeing here, $592,000 is still pretty low compared to the lifestyle that you want to live in your retirement when you reach that age of retirement. So you're going to have to do other things and look towards other investments that are worth more your time and your money so that you can have a higher return in the end. So that leads me to the second misconception. The second misconception is that people overvalue the TSP or any other type of retirement plan that's similar to it. And that seems a little bit contradictory to the first misconception that I have, but these misconceptions apply to different types of people. For the second misconception, it's more for people who are throwing all their extra money towards this type of investment. And going back to the idea of time versus reward. If you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're throwing all your extra money towards a retirement plan that you're only going to be able to see when you're 60, well, what are some things that you can look towards in order to have a healthy retirement plan, but at the same time have passive income so that you can retire early and do those things that you want to do in life? You know, take real estate for example. If you were able to buy one house at your first duty station or something like that, and after a year or when you move duty stations and you started renting out that house, by the time that you hit retirement, right? If that house is worth $300,000, you would have $300,000 of net worth on top of your TSP. So if you play your cards right and you put in the effort to, you know, buy more houses, 2 houses, 3 houses, 4 houses, you can make enough passive income so that you can retire early. Yeah, it takes a little bit more effort and time, but is it more worth your time and effort than putting all your extra money towards a retirement plan so that you can see it when you hit 60? And really, I say it's more worth your time just because you guys have the resources and you guys have the benefits. You guys have the VA home loan. If you guys want to look more into that, if you guys don't know where to start, we do have a playlist about starting your VA home loan buying process and how to get into real estate. For us, real estate and online retail are really the best ways that works for us. That's our perspective on it. You can find other ways to do that, but you know, start thinking about what you want in retirement. How early do you want to retire? How much do you need for retirement? When you start valuing and appreciating investments in a different light, you're going to find that it's more worth your time to do these other things than just throwing your extra money towards a retirement plan. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions, please leave some comments. You guys can even directly message us. We also talk about other military benefits, not just the TSP or the VA home loan. If you guys want more information about that, we go over a weekly quick tip benefit video on our social media. So on Instagram and Facebook, liberty.ft.brave. Make sure you guys subscribe to us so you guys can be updated with these videos. I hope you guys found this helpful. Thanks for watching to the end. I know this was probably a little bit longer than I intended, but thanks. Peace.